What's the first word that comes to your mind when you describe Knuckles the Echidna? Is it that he's strong, stubborn, hot-headed, or even stupid? Well, that was Boom Knuckles, but the Knuckles I'm going to talk about in this video is before Sonic Boom. And while everything I said are accurate descriptions of Knuckles, have you ever thought of describing him as an introvert? Well, whether you have or haven't, that's how I would personally describe Knuckles. And when you stop to think about all his different moments throughout the Sonic series, he really does show a bunch of positive qualities that introverts have. And being an introvert myself, having someone like Knuckles to look up to helps me not feel so bad for being an introvert. And believe it or not, I too struggle with similar problems other introverts may have. You know, the typical stuff like feeling obligated to go to a friend's party or to a crowded wedding reception, or just overall dealing with people on a daily basis. I've had many moments in my life where I'd be in social situations and often feel like I couldn't really connect with other people very easily, and it would make me wonder if there was something wrong with me for being that way. But in reality, being an introvert isn't a bad thing. If you don't believe me, then let's take a look at how Knuckles the Echidna showed what being an introvert is really about. And for better context, let's look into the origins of his character. Knuckles was born as the last Echidna from the Echidna clan on Angel Island, and being the last one in his family line, he was also handed down the role of being the guardian of his ancestors' family relic, the Master Emerald. The Master Emerald is a powerful gem that keeps the Chaos Emeralds in check, so guarding it is a responsibility of utmost importance. Knuckles more or less didn't have a choice in the matter to protect the Master Emerald, but he had to put up with it. In his introduction in Sonic Adventure 1, he questions why he was destined to be the protector of the Master Emerald. Perhaps he felt torn between his duty as the guardian of the Master Emerald and wanting to explore the outside world like Sonic. It kinda makes you wonder if he envies Sonic for that reason. Of course, Sonic is the guy going around at the speed of sound, saving lives left and right, and he isn't afraid to put himself out there. But Knuckles keeps to himself, saving lives whether he realizes it or not. He has his job to protect the Master Emerald from being misused by the forces of evil, but with it being a mundane job that no one notices, it's understandable that he may feel undervalued for his efforts. Later in Knuckles' intro in Sonic Adventure 1, Knuckles is confronted by Chaos, who ends up destroying the Master Emerald, resulting in all the pieces being scattered in many places. Knuckles did try to protect the Emerald from Chaos, but he was unable to at that moment. Yet even though Knuckles failed to protect the Emerald at that moment, he didn't dwell on it. He kept his head held high and wanted to collect all the Emerald pieces to put the Emerald back together. And when he stopped to think about it, Knuckles showed that his stoicism and his attachment to the Emerald gave him the determination to stay focused on getting the Emerald pieces back together. Sure, his focus did make him tunnel-visioned and ignorant, which is how Eggman tricked Knuckles to help him steal the Chaos Emeralds from Sonic and Tails, but even though Knuckles was tricked by Eggman, he didn't get discouraged. He stayed focused on getting the Master Emerald pieces back. It's clear to us that Knuckles won't back down on his mission, even when he's set back. And that's a tremendous power that introverts have when you stop to think about it. Introverts can have a strong will where nothing can bring them down to achieve what they want in life. They see it within themselves that anything is possible as long as they put their mind to it. They don't need external sources of affirmation to care about what they're doing as long as they feel passionate about it. And come to think of it, that's a big reason why introverts feel okay with being alone for a long time. And that's actually another very apparent quality about Knuckles, is that he likes to be alone. Do recall that he grew up alone on Angel Island guarding the Master Emerald each and every day as if it was his destiny. And while it may seem like a boring job to us, Knuckles finds inner peace with being alone and fulfilling his task. It's also like how in Sonic X, Knuckles would much rather be alone instead of living with Sonic and his pals at Chris Thorndyke's house. Because you gotta understand, Knuckles being an introvert would feel distracted and overstimulated by all the shenanigans that would go on with everyone under one roof. And that's not just Knuckles, that pretty much goes for all introverts. They usually can't handle too much loud music and interaction with people on an ongoing basis, nor does it really excite them either. Introverts would rather keep to themselves because they can only handle so much interaction. But that doesn't mean that they're boring people, because believe it or not, they're masters at entertaining themselves and keeping themselves occupied. They can go without being around people for hours on end, and you gotta admit, it's quite remarkable that introverts don't need to depend on others to keep them entertained for a long time. It's mainly because when they're alone, they feel the sense of freedom to do whatever they please, and it's this freedom that helps them feel empowered to take on life's challenges. And while we usually see Knuckles as someone who's very serious about protecting what means most to him, he feels at ease when he's alone. Now, I'm not going to ignore the fact that being alone for too long can be detrimental to us, even if we're introverts. Because being isolated from society can make us unaware if someone's playing tricks on us. For example, remember when Robotnik tricked Knuckles into thinking that Sonic and Tails were after the Master Emerald in Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Well, of course, Knuckles did chase after it, but he was defeated in his efforts. After Robotnik stole the Master Emerald, Knuckles realized that he was in the wrong for trusting him, and he had no other choice but to put his trust in Sonic and Tails, thus marking the beginning of the trio's friendship. True, Knuckles can still have a rivalry with Sonic here and there, but as he puts more of his trust in Sonic and Tails, he builds a closer friendship to them. Consider, for example, how in Sonic Heroes, Knuckles was able to leave the Master Emerald, his most prized possession, unguarded to help Sonic and Tails stop Eggman from conquering the world. When he stopped to think about it, Sonic and Tails were able to put their trust in Knuckles that he would come help them and leave the Master Emerald alone. Another example is one time in Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic's friends were able to put their trust in Knuckles as they knew he could search for the keys at Pyramid Cave to help them progress. Knuckles didn't seem very willing at first because he just wanted to search for the Master Emerald pieces, but for his friends, he was selfless enough to go search for the keys to open the door at Pyramid Cave. Yet another act of trustworthiness that Knuckles shows in Sonic Adventure 2 is when Sonic returned to the Space Colony Ark after a miracle of using Chaos Control to get back there. Sonic appeared right in front of Knuckles, and Knuckles checked on him to make sure that he was okay. He felt genuine concern for Sonic, and that shows how much Sonic can rely on Knuckles whenever he's in a rough spot. This pattern of Knuckles showing how trustworthy he is doesn't just come out of nowhere. He had to find it within himself to put his trust in other people, which is something that's really prominent to introverts. For example, introverts are not always ready to share what's on their mind or on their heart on a whim, because they may feel vulnerable for sharing their thoughts. But when they do, it's as if they're trusting the other person to hear them out for who they truly are. And if they feel accepted, they can come across as one of the most genuine and trustworthy people you'll ever meet. Introverts really value quality time with their friends, because in an extroverted world, they can more likely feel distant from other people, and that very much ties into my next point I want to bring up about Knuckles. I brought up earlier about how Knuckles questioned why he's the guardian of the Master Emerald in Sonic Adventure 1, as he felt torn between his responsibility and wanting to live a free life. But on his journey of getting the Master Emerald pieces back, he reflects on his roots and gets greater insight on why he's the guardian of the Master Emerald as he visits the past and sees the Echidna clan. On his first visit from the past, he sought to call on her father to debate about fighting for the Chaos Emeralds from other nations. Knuckles here took note of how his ancestors took great pride in the Chaos and Master Emeralds and what they meant to them. On his second visit to the past, he watched Tikal try to reason with some hidden creature at the Master Emerald Shrine on how to protect the Chow. This probably helped Knuckles realize that there may be some sort of link to protecting the Master Emerald in order to protect the Chow. All of these visits to the past may have meant something to Knuckles, but it all built up to his last visit to the past, where he saw the Master Emerald Shrine in flames. Seeing such a devastating scene like that at the Master Emerald Shrine must have made him realize that he wouldn't want something like that to happen in his timeline. It was also that moment where everything came full circle to Knuckles to see why he must protect the Master Emerald, and it overall helped him feel empowered by the end of his story on his role. While Knuckles shows an important lesson about finding a purpose in what we do, he also shows how introverts tend to look deep within themselves and stay in touch with their feelings. Introverts are masters of their emotions. They reflect until they understand the triggers that are responsible for their negative thoughts. This retrospection helps them dig deep enough to deal with self-debating beliefs that limit their potential. In an extroverted world, introverts can often feel like they don't fit in, but sometimes they just need subtle reminders like what Knuckles had in Sonic Adventure 1 to remind them of their worth. Looking back at Knuckles' character and his moments throughout the Sonic series was a nice trip down memory lane, but aside from that, diving deep into Knuckles' personality and seeing how he made his impact in his world as an introvert is a nice reminder to us introverts that we can make an impact on our world too. Sure, we introverts may be quiet and not enjoy small talk, but we are passionate people who want to make the most out of our days and feel valued for what we do. Who knows? You may someday make a big scientific discovery and become the next Albert Einstein. You might write the next best-selling novel. You might even become a big social media influencer. But hey, even if none of that happens, you're making a world of a difference each and every day by just being you. You may not know why, but as Knuckles would say, perhaps it's better that way, because you're at peace once more. So if you ever feel down because you're an introvert, just remember Knuckles, and you'll realize that you too can be a hero. I think we can agree that Knuckles had moments where he had to make sacrifices, and being introverts, we often need to sacrifice our own time to show how we care for others. And that reminds me of when I talked about how E102 Gamma showed the importance of sacrifice in this video on the screen. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more Sonic content from me. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, we are Eternal for Life.